Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream.
All right. Welcome to episode 319. This is my live stream. We've had a lot of spicy streams lately, and this will not be one of them. This is just going to be a chill stream where we work on comics and just kind of shoot the breeze. So, should be fun. I have about 4 panels that I need to flat color left for page 84 of Not Death But Love, The Strange Supernatural Story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. We're going to do that. Possibly talk about some upcoming illustrations and designs that I'm going to be working on. Might talk a little bit about the progress of the script I'm working on. And yeah, I think that's basically what's on the dock for tonight. So it should be a fun, chill stream. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys are working on and just having a nice hangout sesh. Sesh seems like such a horribly like office word. Like, hey, you guys, let's work for a sesh. All right. My son had an open house today. It was pretty fun. This is the comic we're working on. Everything that's magenta is not finished color filling. This is the shading layer, which I neglected to title shading. This is the shading. These are the lines, right? And then we're doing flats underneath. And that's what we're going to be working on. At this point, I think we can merge this down too, because we have the all the type isolated. Okay. So we're going to kind of do what we did on this stream. We did 318 real quick before I had to do book time with my kid. We're reading A Spell for a Chameleon, which is a lot of fun. I haven't read Piers Anthony since, gosh, like 7th grade. It's been a lot of fun to kind of re-explore. I've had to censor slightly what I'm reading a little bit. Not too much. It does get a little saucy, little junior high-y. I can see why I was super into those books in junior high. But yeah, so far he's really enjoying the book. And we're finding out, is the magician Trent evil? Is he good? It's been pretty exciting. We met my son's teacher. He seems like a good guy, so that's nice. He seems very in control of his classroom. That was encouraging. A lot of like what parents won't acknowledge is when you send your kids off to school, some of it's like a mystery, you know? Some of it is a mystery of what happens, especially at my son's age, where I'll ask him like, hey, what happened at school? What'd you guys do at school? And he's like, meh. You know, and every once in a while you get these little windows into what they're experiencing. But a lot of the time, a lot of it's very mysterious. And so it's like back to school nights are nice to just give you a window into like what's going down. Who are these people my son's talking about all the time? Where does he sit, like in his classroom, you know? And especially nowadays, that, environments have changed so much to where, back in the day, I don't feel like campuses were closed down as much. I feel like it was easier for parents to kind of walk their kids. They could actually walk their kids to class. But I feel like, now it's like a very much an environment of closed campuses, which is good. I like the fact that like some wacko can't just randomly go on their school campus or something. But it is weird because you never really see the classroom, you never really meet the teacher, and so it's like, again, it's nice to put a face to the name and meet some of the people you're trusting your children to. So that was fun. Let's see what else. I think I already mentioned this on the show. There's a couple things I need to do. I'm working on a script for a pitch based on a movie script written by a writer who has sold way more books than I've ever sold and written way more books than I've ever made. Mostly novels and TV shows and stuff. And we're repped by the same literary agent. And so my literary agent introduced us. We met, we got along. I read his script. I like it a lot. So we're going to pitch it and kind of do a co-creator kind of split and give it a shot because it's a project I actually believe in. And it's really well written. It's a really meaningful story. So it would be worth dedicating a lot of time to. Plus, like, the writer's much more known than I am. So they might be able to pull a much bigger advance for both of us that would allow for the time to make it, which would be cool. And plus, it'll be my next book deal. And at this point, I have, 3 book deals under my belt with publishers. And it seems like every deal gets a little bit better, financially, a little bit better. So I'm thinking that this third deal will be good. But right now, it's like, I think I mentioned this on Artcasters, but a lot of it's like triaging at the point that I'm at right now, where I need to obviously prioritize paid work because, I've recently left my position as an art director that I worked for almost 10 years, like about 9 years and like a couple months or something, but close to a decade of working for a place. And I just recently left. And so it's been, almost 10 years since I've been like full freelance or worked anywhere else. Like I've been doing freelance here and there, but it's not, prior to that, I did, freelance for like quite a while, running my own business and stuff. But the game's changed a little bit. And so it's interesting. I'm having to like triage. This is not a complaint. This is a scenario a lot of creatives are in. So I have to like triage, like what's important, what needs to come first, and also juggle getting this book done on top of that, because this is an obligation. Like, Vic Du said, "Hello, Sir Joshua of House Kemble." Yes, it's Kemble today. I feel like when I go dark and it gets spicy, those are Kremble streams, but this is a Kemble stream, right? The Kremble energy is going to be pretty mellow today, pretty chill, just working on stuff. But anyhow, so it's this weird juggling act where you have to kind of deal with life's priorities first, right? What is it? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you need to make sure those things are taken care of. But you also need to like think long term enough to have big picture stuff or like calculated risks. In the case of this pitch that we're going to be putting together, it's a calculated risk. I just hope we're able to get it out soon, because like the script has been taking a little longer than I thought it would. But it's coming out really good. But adapting it is taking a bit of time. So I want it to be good. I want to spend time on it so that it's, something we could show publishers and they're going to potentially bite. And if they do bite, I want it to have some work in it that's going to cut a little bit of my preliminary work that you probably see me doing on this comic, where quite often I'm taking the page description and then breaking it down into panels in text before I have to sketch it out, because I need to like write it out, like think it out before I like start thinking visually. For me, it helps to have a bit of a map of where I'm heading. And the fact that I have an opportunity here with a script, again, like usually if I'm working with someone on a script, I'd prefer them not to have it broken down panel by panel, because you want to kind of let the artist, especially an artist who's worked in comics for a while, you want to let them kind of dictate like some of the stuff. I'm not saying you can't be more specific, but I feel like you're restricting your artist quite often by doing a panel by panel breakdown. Because they're going to kind of, especially if they're an artist who's worked in comics before, they're going to kind of know what beats need to happen where. So I don't mind doing that with this book. But because of the fact that this other collaboration, like I'm going to be working on the art for it, the chance to revise the script for the format is a really cool opportunity, because it allows me to do some of the prep work. And when I break it down to panel by panel, I'm doing it based on my knowledge of my own art and like what is going to work for my art best. But also, I'm hard enough on myself where, I'm still approaching it like a writer. Like if it's going to be hard to draw, I'm not just ignoring it. Like I'm not going to do the don't draw feet trick, that a lot of young cartoonists will do, where they're like, I'll just make every scene in like a rocky landscape that kind of looks like a Star Trek episode so that I can hide feet behind rocks. We're not going to do that. But it is helpful to like, because what's going to look good, it's helpful to be able to break it down as the artist. So that's the one thing I'm doing in the script that that's going to help, I think, with our pitch. And it's also exciting because it's a little outside of my comfort zone. Like it's a genre I haven't worked in. It's close enough to genres I have worked in to where it's not like a wild stretch to do, but it's definitely going to stretch me creatively, which is good. So there's that. So I need to do that. And then I have some freelance stuff that I'm going to be doing probably before being able to get back to the script. I have at least 2 illustrations I have to work on. And I'll probably be hopefully working on those tomorrow, because my goal is, before going to bed tonight, I want to finish the colors on this page. And that's going to get me into another thing of insomnia. I don't know if you guys ever have this, but at my nature as a creative, oh, okay. Vic said, well, I'm going to head out. Schooling is TMV. I don't know what TMV means because I'm old. I don't know what that means. I'm guessing it's some kind of shortening of something. Next time Vic's on, I'll ask him what TMV is. Yeah, so again, an interesting day, a lot of things, a lot of plates. And I was mentioning this on the last episode, which was really short, because I just did a quick stream before reading to my kid and tucking him in. But it's one of those things where, yeah, it's just triaging and kind of picking what is highest priority, what needs to get done first, and juggling the long-term versus short-term needs and the long-term versus short-term risks, and trying to do that effectively in a fairly tense situation. So I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Let's see here. So how are you guys doing? And if you're listening and you're working on stuff, I'd love to hear what you're working on in the chats. Hopefully I'm able to keep you company while you work on stuff. So right now we're just working on flats, flat colors. We're having to do it in this kind of deselecty way because it's more of a pencil line than an ink line. So you'll see that the edges are slightly blurred. So if I try to do just the lasso, like not the lasso tool, but if I try to use the selection tool, like the magic wand, and then expand, which is what I would usually do with ink lines, that will get so blown out here because of that fuzzy edge of the pencil line, which is the look I want. So instead, I'm having to kind of work in this way, which is like a very deselecty way, which sometimes can actually be faster, strangely enough. I like to use the polygonal lasso tool for a couple reasons. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is um, quite often, if you want to do an arc with a selection tool pretty effectively and it's under a line, you can do it a little more accurately with the polygonal lasso tool because it's like making a bunch of, like, you can make an arch into a lot of little straight lines. And you have a little more control over it than the freeform um, magic lasso or whatever. So, so there's that. We know this dude's skin tone is going to be similar to Bosco's. I believe we have the color of his hair from the previous panel. He has wild hair. This is the stage manager, who is a very ancillary character. He's not a main character. I think that's what ancillary means. Could be wrong. But yeah, just a chill stream tonight. There's still a little bit more of that indictment that I can read over on a future stream, but I don't plan on doing that tonight. This is not, I feel like there's been a lot of spice in the last few live streams. And so I want to kind of have a little bit of a diet. Like, we'll have a little bit of healthy food, chill for a bit, then get back to the crazy spice later. So I went down a rabbit hole. So I was mentioning insomnia. So I have this problem. Like, the last few days, I just haven't been able to sleep at night. And so yesterday I wasn't able to sleep. I was just like tossing and turning 3 hours. And so finally I was like, got up and ended up going down like a rabbit hole online where I was reading about Tool, the band Tool, because I was kind of like vaguely remembering that I think like Maynard Keenan and Tom Morello were kind of like friends like before Tool formed, and I think that Keenan was like a potential contender to be the lead singer for Rage Against the Machine. And then I started vaguely remembering like there were some connections between like the Dead Kennedys and Tool, and so I like started going down this crazy rabbit hole, and it was really interesting. It's kind of interesting here, like seeing the connections, where I think that this is wacky, right? where I really like the Pixies, right? Like the band the Pixies. And I didn't know that the first iteration of A Perfect Circle, which was like the side project started by the guitar tech for Tool and like Nine Inch Nails and a bunch of other stuff. He was like a guitar tech. He needed a place to live for a little bit. Keenan let him live with him for a while. And while he was living with Keenan, he was like, I do this like side music stuff, and played him like a little demo. And I guess Keenan was like, hey, dude, if you ever decide to have a singer on this, I'm in. And that's how they like kind of formed. But anyhow, there's this lady, this girl, I can't even remember her name, but she was playing bass with them early on, and is also, I think, a cellist and violinist. And she ended up being the replacement for Kim Deal of the Pixies. When Kim Deal opted out of their like reunion, this girl who has a connection to like Keenan and Tool, um, the new permanent member of the Pixies, subbing in for Kim Deal, is this bassist that played with A Perfect Circle initially, which I thought was really interesting. It's just funny. There's like these weird band connections, and I feel like it's much like comics where, you know, I almost think like, I've mentioned this to like young cartoonists where it's like if you go to a convention, you don't want to like talk a bunch of crap about a comic creator quite often when you're at a con, because chances are you might be talking crap to like their best friend. And like weirdly enough, it's like it's not just it's in indie comics too, right? Where it's like it's a small little knit community. So a lot of indie cartoonists are like friends with mainstream guys because a lot of them started indie. And a lot of people know a lot of people. And so it's like one of those things where it's good to talk well of people, right, in the industry. But similarly, I was thinking like it's kind of like that with music, where it's like you have all these weird connections, with these different bands. I could just imagine somebody meeting like Zach Della Rocca or something from Rage, and then talking some mad crap about Tool, and then Zach's like, "Hey, I used to hang out with these guys when I was a teenager. We played music together. Why are you talking crap about my friend?" Like it's interesting. But anyhow, it's like so. Anyhow, it's an interesting thing that like there's a lot of overlap in the music industry too, and it's like I thought it was fascinating that that Tool had a connection to like a lot of punk rock too, like a lot of prog, a lot of punk rock. Um, it's just really fascinating. So anyhow, I went down like a rabbit hole on that, and found it kind of interesting. I hadn't really looked into like Maynard Keenan or any of that stuff since like high school. Because I think when I was maybe in high school, like that album Anima came out, and I really liked that album actually. And it's funny because I was like deep in my kind of punk phase, but that album kind of blew me away. So yeah, so there was that. So here we go. We're just kind of deselecting all the gold in the area now. But anyhow, so it was really interesting to me, like the kind of weird overlaps and side projects and like super groups and stuff like that of bands, which I guess would kind of make sense because I feel like even in comics, it's such a weird job. I don't think anybody in comics is like, well, I mean, I guess there's that there's the My Chemical Romance guy. That guy is a rock star and a cartoonist, or a comic writer. But I think in general, a lot of comic writers aren't like rock stars. Like they're not, people that somebody on the street is going to like stop and be like, "Oh my gosh." Um, it's a slightly different industry, right? Except for maybe a few people, right? But it's slightly different than like music, where if you're like a really well-known band, you're going to like have trouble walking down the street, Um, weirdly enough, I think even Neil Gaiman might be able to just kind of walk casually somewhere and not get recognized. Yeah, as big as he is, as a writer. Maybe not so much now. I think he might be at that point, but it's like there's not a lot of people in comics. Maybe Stan Lee, you know, but there is an overlap in the sense that it's a really like the arts are a weird industry, right? And then comics are like a really weird, nichey, strange industry within an industry. And I feel like there are some parallels, between comics and music in the sense that it makes sense that people have a bond that kind of share this thing and dedicate so much time to this thing, of a variety of different styles and stuff like that. Because I think about like my own friend circle, right? And it's like, dude, I have friends who work in all kinds of styles in art. I have old classmates and stuff that work in like all kinds of different industries. So it's like, it kind of makes sense because it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. There's like a deviation, but a commonality. And I think it's important to kind of know other people that are kind of doing slightly similar things because it helps you not lose your mind when you're dealing with like the weird stuff that only a cartoonist or only an illustrator, or only a graphic designer would have to, you know, have like even the comprehension of like some of the weird niche things we have to deal with. But it makes sense there's a bond. Anyhow, kind of rambling, but I think it's fascinating. Hopefully you guys do too. We have one panel down and 3 to go. And as usual, once I hit a panel, I kind of reward myself by being able to step away for a moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill this with magenta. We'll hit save, and then we'll play a trailer, and I'll be right back. So here is the full trailer for Jacob's Apartment. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we these things we've seen and walk around breathing I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams. All right. So what else are we doing? I do think it's a shame. Like, again, I really hope that we're able to kind of pull like a decent advance because it's a shame sometimes to just consider the amount of time that people have to spend on these things and like the financial support to do so is like bizarre, so like most cartoonists I know, are doing comics as like a side hustle, and they're spending, like full-time hours like working on these things. And it's just like it's kind of the nature of the beast. It's like a really underpaying industry. And you have your few like people, a lot of them will use like a gimmick or something like that to somehow make it work, and credit to them for doing that, because it's like it's a hard thing to make a living at. Comics in general. So, but I still have faith. Like, I don't know, it's weird. I have faith in creativity, and it has gotten me, you know, by so far professionally. So I can't help but think like at some point, you know, a lot of this stuff is going to line up. It always kind of does. But I was thinking about it, and it's like one of the darn shames about our country is that like people really don't care about the arts as much as they should. I feel like the embrace of AI is a really good example of that, where I think a lot of people just have no value for art or for like the time and love that people pour into these things, I don't want to sound like a downer, but I'm just saying like we need to collectively do better at like supporting indie people, you know? Like I play trailers on my channel for a reason, so people will hopefully pick up the book. But it's shocking how many times you have to talk about a book release to get like one person to order and take a chance. Whereas like if they're at a Starbucks, like they wouldn't even blink spending the same amount of money on like a new coffee they haven't tried or something like that. And it's like, how long does it take to brew a cup of coffee, but then like a comic, it's like, some of these things at the quickest are going to take like a year or two, a full graphic novel. And, some of them take like 5 or 10 years, and like the idea that, we're in a world where people can invest like a decade into something, yeah. But I still love it. It's like I think I've talked about this before. It's kind of like a abusive relationship. And I think if people are into comics, I don't think that'll be discouraging to kind of talk about, because it's like, yeah, you'll do it. If you love comics, you're going to be doing comics. You just can't not. So yeah, so we have, I think this is going to be a really good book though. I'm very excited about this book. And that's the point. That's the whole point of doing these things is I think good books are worth it, and I will spend the time to make a good book. Um let's continue here with the flats. So yeah, it's been an interesting day. I think I already mentioned the fish thing the other day. We cleaned our tanks. A little fish sanctuary that we got going here. And that's been pretty fun. Nice to see the tank all clean and the fish all happy and ridiculous. There's a lot in the news that it's tempting to get spicy and talk about. But we're trying to do a chill stream. So we have Elizabeth now. Like what I'm doing right now is just we're deselecting out her colors, kind of working reductively here. One of the things that's going to be fun is the freelance T-shirts that I need to do designs for, and it's for like T-shirts and posters and other paraphernalia that they sell at this lady's store. But there's like a specific look to it that kind of fits my style, but it's a little more graphic and kind of like working light over dark, kind of like a woodcut or scratch board kind of style. And I'm kind of excited about that because I like working in that style. And they should be like one or two color illustrations. Um, and they're going to be like sea themed, particular sea type stuff, you know. And that sounds really fun. So I'm really excited to hopefully, like, once I get done with these colors, knock one of those out. And then also illustrate a spread for the kids' book that I was working on the cover for a couple days ago. So it's like going to be a little refreshing in the sense of changing it up a lot because it's going to be multiple different styles. Like there's this style that I'm working in now. There's, you know, kind of a more little golden book kind of style we're trying to do the kids' book in. And then there will be this more kind of graphic, like woodcut style. And I think through it, my style will inevitably come through. I've talked about this a little bit, but it's interesting when you meet young artists and they have so much concern about finding a style. And it makes sense because I was one of them, you know. But it is amazing how you get to a point where you start realizing, like, no matter what medium, your style is just going to kind of be like you kind of can't avoid your style. It's going to shine through pretty much anything you pick up. Even if you have a variety of styles, like eventually there's going to be kind of a signature that looks like your work. Um, and it might vary by like medium, you know, like you might have a specific style that's recognizable for how you oil paint, you know, and I think varies by approach and stuff like that. But to me, I'm excited about that because I think that's going to keep it real fresh and interesting. And it's also fun for you guys on YouTube, I'm imagining, because, you know, I am constantly working on this particular book, and I've been working on this one for, you know, little over a year now. So it might be kind of refreshing to kind of see some of my other chops being exercised rather than just these pages, as much as I think they're very fun. I think it'll give you guys a little bit of variety too. So I'm excited to be able to share that with you guys. Plus, I haven't done too much t-shirt design work on this channel. And so I think I've done a few long ago in a galaxy far, far away, but it's been a while. So that'll be fun. Yeah, I think we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. 3 of these to go, right? That's Bosco's hair. Now we'll hit his eyeballs. His eyeballs. Let's get those. He has these kind of blue eyes. And we'll just kind of continue our way through it. So I noticed it's getting closer to the release of the Cybertruck, which a lot of people think is hideous. And I must be a weirdo because if I had the wherewithal, I would want to drive a Cybertruck so bad. They look so rad to me. It might just be a generational thing, because it looks like Back to the Future. It looks like a straight up DeLorean, and I think they finally have some like test cars like running around in Texas or something. I saw some footage of that online, and I was like, I would rock the hell out of that thing if I had money to get it. I would totally rock it. It looks amazing. It looks so ridiculous. Like a dystopian, vehicle. Like it looks like something where you'd have like punks from like the 1980s, They're all feathered up and you know, they got their feathers and shoulder pads and stuff. Um they all look like Flea did and Back to the Future Part 2. And it's like, yeah, I mean it's a weird looking car. Hey, Scotch wants help getting inside. So anyhow, I'm excited to see those on the road. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of them in Los Angeles. But yeah, I don't know. I have been just kind of in a chill mood today, where I just kind of want to work on art, hang out. Not too much on my mind, just kind of working. I'd love to hear what everybody in the community is working on. So we've got to kind of deselect Bosco, the magician's jacket here. And we're just going to, like, again, just very laboriously go through all of these things and deselect them. So the way I feel about comics, it's like, to me, like graphic novels are like this. It's like if you lived in a world that, I don't know, let's say I'm going to try to pick something really pretty, like an emerald, right? And you lived in a world where people just didn't value emeralds. Like they just thought emeralds are just junk, they're trash. And you, for some reason, came across emeralds and you were like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Like, I want to just collect these emeralds. And everyone around you was like, yeah, those are worthless, I feel like that about comics, bro. I feel like comics are this thing that I absolutely love. It's probably my favorite form of art to do and to read. And yet I do feel like we are in a like society that kind of treats them as digestible trash. And that's not just the consumers. Sometimes it's even the makers. Um, and it's not bad to have like things that are just for like quick, consumption that you just throw away soon. But it's weird when you feel like you're the one of the few in the world who's like, these things are really cool though. Like they're really amazing. It's like such a cool art form with so many possibilities. And wanting to be a part of that, it's an interesting conundrum to be in as a creator Because you feel like running up to people and being like, see these emeralds? They're so cool. People are like, meh. One thing that's fun about being in an artist family is like my wife is literally working on kids' books right now. So she's working on drawing. I'm working on coloring. You know, we're like a weird artsy fartsy couple. And I got to admit, it's a little bit of fun. So we're making our way through very slowly but surely, flat coloring every panel on this page. And luckily, this page is not crazy complicated. So the flats, even though they seem like they're taking a long time, compared to some pages, these are going to go exceptionally quickly. We're going to do Robert's hair now. This is Robert Browning's hair. And deselecting his beard. And I mean, again, like the nice thing about this style that I like is the flats take forever, but you know, luckily the rendering's all fairly quick and is overlaid over just flat color. So it kind of feels like tedious to color, but then like once you see the result, it's like, well, the result's a lot better than the time. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like the result, I think, ends up looking better than the time spent to get the result, if that makes any sense. I'm sure there's a better way to put that. And if you see me going to like a flat page, that's just me selecting colors from the previous page so that I'm being consistent on the color. So the other day, my wife and I were going to like get breakfast at a local place called Tom's, which is delicious. It's a staple of the area. I know that's a pretty generic name. There's probably like a place called Tom's everywhere because I'm guessing there's a lot of people named Tom who start restaurants. Not Tommy's, right? It's just Tom's, and they do really good breakfast. So anyhow, we go to get breakfast, and then we are heading back home, and there is a dog who is adorable, and he's just walking in the middle of the intersection. My wife's like, hey, we have like food, you know, we should like try to kind of lure this sad stray dog that's gonna like kill itself. Like, we should try to lure it with like some yummy breakfast burrito. So we like pull into the parking lot and we spend about an hour just trying to coax this dog closer to us because it's like really skittish. So if you even attempt to move towards it, the dog just runs, and like every time it runs, it like runs out into the intersection. And we've at this point have it kind of in a garage, like not a garage, a parking lot right outside of like a grocery store. And then like other people come by, and there's a lady who goes into the grocery store, buys like a rotisserie chicken, right? To lure this dog, this poor adorable dog who's just hopelessly freaking out. And it might lead to the death of him, right? It's just he's so unaware of the danger he's putting himself in. And so we're just, trying to get this dog to like come a little closer to us. And the problem is too, the dog didn't have a collar, right? So it's just like there's nothing to grab it by if it gets near. You're like, so we're just kind of reliant on like hopefully the dog kind of comes and chills and relaxes and has some food. Like I said, an hour of it, and finally the dog just kind of ran off and would not come back. And it's like, so we just couldn't get him to come near us. And it was sad too, because it's like I think because this was like during the kind of more rainy time, so like Hurricane Hillary or whatever. So like it seemed like the animal control was closed. Like when I looked it up to see if like maybe we could call like animal control at least. So like they could get somebody with like dog catching stuff and drop it by the pound. At least it has a chance. It's a cute dog. And or like a dog rescue or something. And like everything's closed because it's, Hurricane Hillary, like everything was closed down because they're expecting like these massive floods, which there was a little bit of flooding nearby, but it wasn't quite as immense as everybody was concerned about. But yeah, we just could not, for the life of us, get this dog to come near us. And he ended up running off and we couldn't get him. So it was really sad. Like my wife and I both got home and we're like kind of bummed about that. Like, I mean, it would have been a pain, right? If we had gotten the dog there, like, what are we going to do with this dog? We got to keep him from our dogs, like all of that. But still, he seemed like such a nice little dude. He just looked really freaked out and skittish. But he wasn't like a giant dog. He seemed like part pug. I can't remember the other part. I think he was part pug or something. Yeah, Maya was saying he looked a little bit like a puggle. Yeah, he was like tall though, and like yeah. So I don't know what kind of mud he was, but he was really cute. Like, he looked like he would be a really good dog once he felt safe. So yeah, so that happened. It's always kind of a bummer when, like, to me, animals, especially pets, suffering or something like that. It always feels bad because, I mean, it feels bad with people for sure, but I feel like with pets, like dogs, they're kind of hopeless. So like, it's like they don't even have the conscious comprehension to have somebody like come by and be like, dude, you're okay. Okay, we'll take care of you. It's like he's just running on instinct, and it's kind of sad because it's like you kind of feel bad for the little guy. Running on instinct, and you kind of can't blame him, right? But it's sad because it's like they really have no way of we saw like there was like a lady who pulled over her car, tried to lure him in there. There's another guy like pulled over to the side of the road, tried to lure him in there. Like nobody could get through to this dog who's just like running around freaked out thinking everybody's trying to kill him or something. And meanwhile is like getting closer and closer to just totally annihilating himself, in the process. It was really sad. There's something especially sad about that. Chill stream shouldn't be talking about sad things, but it was just an interesting thing yesterday. And it's weird. We got him pretty close to us with the breakfast burrito because we were throwing pieces for him and stuff. And it's just we couldn't get him. He knew the distance. Like it's like his instincts knew the distance that if he was like, 10 inches closer, we would have got him. So, but he was cute. I'll give him that. Very cute dog. Let's see here. The most annoying thing about it, right, is when we were driving to get food, we kind of saw him like running, and he ran like right in range of these joggers. And the joggers look down, see this dog who's kind of chasing them because they're jogging and not chasing them like viciously. It's kind of like running along with them, like, oh, this is fun. And like none of them stopped. And they like of this whole thing where there's like by the time we were done, there must have been like, maybe like 10 people who at separate, including us, that at separate times like tried to stop and like help this animal. And the one person who could have actually helped the animal because it came right up to him was this jogger who just was like, meh, and like kept jogging on. I'm like, I get it. I get it. There's those people who like drive past an accident and be like, I don't know, I can't really pull over right now. Or, but like, it just seemed especially cruel because it's not like this vicious looking dog. I would get it if it was like a big giant dog that could, take you down. I can understand some hesitation there. But yeah, there wasn't even an attempt. Or maybe, just maybe, like here's the thing. Maybe that's my temporary judgment of it. Maybe those joggers spent like half a day trying to get that dog and we're finally like, you know what? We just have to go. Like there's just no way. It didn't look like that, but you never know. Okay, so we have so that was wait a minute. Why am I coloring? I am making a big mistake here, but it's easy to fix. But I need to recolor this guy because I was accidentally coloring him with the same outfit as Robert's outfit, which it should not be that color. I was going to do it browns. How confusing would that be? It's like Robert and Bosco already have similar colored suits. If it's 3 people with the same colored suits, that could be a little confusing. Okay, so we're gonna get the gold first, and we'll take care of that issue in a second. Already got some of the gold, which is good. There's gold in them comics. Gold, I tell ya. I wonder if people still know the prospector voice, Like, because I feel like when I was a kid, there were like shows like the Apple Dumpling Gang and stuff like that were on reruns on like Disney. Um, and not Disney Channel, but Disney Afternoon. Not Disney Afternoon. What was it called? The Wonderful World of Disney would like do reruns and stuff of these classic kind of TV shows. And they'd have like, the classic like prospector guy who's like, well, I'm a crazy drunk. And like, they'd be like this kind of drunk guy who like has a wisp. I can't really do it, but like they'd have like a whistle when they talked. So they'd say things like that. And there was like a prospector voice. And it was a pretty common thing. And then you had Yosemite Sam, and I think he was a prospector. I feel like there's no good cartoon prospectors anymore. Tim Lujan needs to get on that and bring back the good old prospector. Whatever happened. Maybe I'm just unaware of it. Maybe there's a whole realm of prospector fiction. Yeah. Like I bet if I Google it, like there's like a prospector appreciation society. There's like a secret club for prospector voice actors. The Prospector Voice Actors Guild. I feel like it's out there. It's gotta be a thing. So yeah, we're talking about comics and prospector voices. We finished kind of 4 panels, and we have 2 left to go before I can go to bed. But no sleep till Brooklyn, okay? There's no sleep till this is done. No sleep till flats are done. That's you can see why I'm such a well-known singer with that song. Many a human have noticed just how much my singing is like a siren song that will, if you listen too carefully, you'll get lost at sea because of the allure of my horrible pipes. All right. That problem's slightly solved. I actually, now that I see this, though, I kind of want to fix some other stuff. Like I don't know about that. So we're going to fix that. And then I think we're going to make the vest a little darker. Or maybe the vest will be like a little bit light or like a light yellowish. Do you guys remember what a vestibule is? Is it like a Lunchable?
Oh my gosh.
My wife is rolling her eyes audibly on the other side of the room at my bad jokes. Now I need to look up what a vestibule is, though. I don't remember. I was thinking about vests, and then I was remembering that word. And for some reason, my brain cannot connect what the word is. If there is anyone watching live who knows what that is and wants to chime in chats, that would greatly relieve my curiosity until I am like, once I have this guy flatted and I deselect everything but the vest, I should be able to Google this. But at this point, I'm in like selection mode, so I kind of can't. So I guess I'll just be left to wonder. To wonder in sadness.
Passage or hall or room between the outer door and the interior of a building. An enclosed entrance at the end of a royal white passenger car.
My wife just said it's basically like a pathway or an entrance.
Like a space between 2 openings or 2.
Oh, nice. Thomas said, a vest. You guys are coming in with the love and the support. Thank you. Hi, Philip, by the way. He said, just got home from work. Nice. And then Thomas said, a vestibule is like a hall next to an outdoor, like a foyer. Nice. Or just to sound extra like dumb because I didn't know what vestibule was, I'll call that a foyer. Like a foyer? Could be like the next Who's on First sketch. It's like he's over there in the foyer. The 4 year. Because I think you're saying 4 years. Oh my gosh. You guys can't tell that I've had some insomnia the last few nights. Can you? Yeah, I'm using that as an excuse. My wife was like, "Oh, you're blaming it on the insomnia." Well, I mean, since I had it, I might as well use it. Okay. My wife in the background, you can't hear her probably because the mic's probably not picking it up, but she said, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, he is this corny. It's true. Speaking of corny, I have a great advertisement that we're going to watch made by Jim Lujan. It's the latest one. We now have two, and I've probably overplayed the heck out of this, but I can't overplay it enough. So we're going to watch it. Here it is. It's called Kids Say Kemble.
We know the Georgia kids say the craziest thing.
So, little Susie, do you have any brothers or sisters? I understand you're in 3rd grade. How do you like that? Do you like your teacher? You like to do a lot of fun things at school? You got any hobbies, Susie? Any things you like to do when you're not in school? I hear you like to read.
Well, right now I'm reading 2 stories written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. It grapples with faith and mental illness. It's ultimately a story about redemption. It's a savage piece of writing. Also, I just finished up Jacob's Apartment, another one by Kemble. Jacob's Apartment weaves together elements of spiritualism and relationship dynamics, as well as atheism, and all the while it deals with abandonment and loyalty. It's a fierce read.
Do you like ponies?
Nice. Yeah, Thomas Adams was saying, without the spice flow, the cheese must flow. That's right. It's like in Dune, like the spice gives you like powers and makes your eyes blue and you become the oh my gosh, I always forget what the yeah. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of cheese in this. And not the kind of cheese we were talking about in the indictment with Cheese Bro, which I still think is the funniest name on the planet. Like, whether you like the guy or not, you have to admit that's a very funny name to have. And it's funny because I was listening to the audio indictment, and I don't know much about this Cheese Bro dude. But the fact that it wasn't even, I thought it was cheese burrow, like, a burrow of cheese, like, and I was like, maybe the origin of the name is like, a great descendant once, made cheese in a burrow. And so they were named Cheese Burrow, because it's like, hey, that's the guy who makes cheese. But no, the guy's name is actually spelled Cheese Bro. So you could literally call him a cheese bro. You know what I'm saying, bro? Anyhow, we're not getting spicy on this stream, but I still think that's a funny name. And that is my maturity level. I still find it funny when I find a name funny. Maybe that's just a survival strategy from having such a weird last name. I definitely got a lot of, like, when I was a kid. I want to hear this in chats too, if you guys had nicknames you were called as a kid. Yeah, there's a photograph of Cheese Bro turning himself in. And I was a little disappointed because in my head, it was like a guy, I think, what is the sport that has like the cheese heads, that are like fans, and they'll wear like a big cheese wedge hat at like games. I think it's like a football game or something. Maybe it's Michigan. Can't remember the cheese. Football people will be like rolling over in their graves, like hearing me not know who the cheeseheads are. But anyhow, in my head, the Packers. There we go. So in my head, I had this vision of, because again, I follow politics, but there are players that I have no idea about, and Cheese Bro was one of them. until I'm reading this indictment. And I was literally picturing a guy wearing like a cheese. Like he'd wear like a big wedge of cheese as a hat. He's got like an I heart cheese, but instead of a heart, it's like a wedge of cheese. Maybe he's got like a complexion that's a little cheese-like. Yeah, maybe that's the connection he had to Trump, They both like kind of like Trump is kind of the hue of cheese. And so he was like, I really like this guy. He looks like a wedge of cheese, I had this whole fiction in my head built up, and I was a little disappointed to see his perp photo, because I was like, oh, he's just like a guy. He's not a fan of cheese at all. That's not a cheese bro. A cheese bro should be a guy. He's like a friend who just always shows up with cheese. You like forget the name of a cheese and he just appears out of nowhere and he's like, it's actually cheddar. And you're like, thank you, cheese bro. Thank you so much. I believe that would be Brie, 1874. Oh, thank you, cheese bro. That's what it should have been. Philip was saying, I know that experience too well. It becomes more regular with age. I'm guessing he's talking about just forgetting. Paul Pate said his lifelong nickname has been PP. I'm sorry. So yeah, my wife's middle name starts with an S, and her first name is Mai. And so somebody would call my ass. That was her nickname for a while. That's a rough one. And honestly, for hard names, like I do always feel bad for her a little bit and her sister, because like 9 times out of 10, we go to a coffee shop, they're going to get the name wrong. My sisters have really tough names too. So I really can't complain. Because one of my sister's names is Fawn, right? A million people get that wrong. And then the other is Lavender. I just called her Lavender. And there's a notorious time where my sister Lavender and I, like the flower lavender, right? We were at a Starbucks, and she never lived this down, by the way, to this day. We were at a Starbucks, and the person at Starbucks goes, slab a deer, your order is ready, slab a deer. And we were like, we look at the cup, and they wrote slab a deer. Like I killed a deer and I cut off a slab of deer to eat. So she's never lived down that nickname. I would just get like Campbell's soup, even though my last name is Kemble. People would just be like, Campbell's soup, which is weird because like Campbell's soup's rad. It doesn't even make sense as an insult, but it's also like they used to do. I mean, this is kids, so they'll just kind of tease you about anything. Like they used to be like Osh, Josh, Gosh, because there was like a clothing line called Osh, Gosh, Bagosh. And so but like, when they're kids, it's like they kind of do it maliciously. Like it's why, like, I remember when we were thinking about naming our kid, I was trying to like bully proof his name. But then I finally came to the conclusion, like, it really doesn't matter, like kids will find a way, like Paul Pate is not a funny name. And of course they find, but the initials are PP, like it's inevitable. They're always going to find something, and you just own it. And that's how you do it. And if you're cheese bro, you should own it by wearing a wedge of cheese hat and being the cheese bro and learning everything there is to know about cheese. and appearing at random parties when people are having like charcuterie or whatever, and telling them about their various cheeses. And then people can thank you and say, "Thank you, cheese bro." I really appreciate that. But yeah, there's a lot of, it can be tough. Oh, Philip was saying they were talking about going to the bathroom in the middle of the night. My chat has a life of its own. Thomas said Cheeseboro, a guy who made Vaseline, then works with Pawns, then was bought by Unilever. Well, this guy's name wasn't spelled like that, though. It's literally bro, like BRO. You know? Thomas said, my mom loved Jane Austen, named my sister after Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth. Nice. My sister's child is named after the main character of this book, which she wrote. That's pretty cool. Do 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 do. So I need to correct one thing that's a sequential error here, because I want him standing up at this point. And so we're going to do that in a second. So first I'm going to fill in this, and then we'll go in there and add this luggage in the first panel. So it's clear that he's standing up from where he's sitting on the luggage. And then after they've left, he sits back down. Because right now it looks like the luggage is just magically disappearing when he stands up, which I could justify by saying, well, he's a magician. I mean, technically, I could have him like appearing all over the place, crossing the line of action. People are like, that's inaccurate. No, you just don't understand the magic. The magic of this man. Okay. Yeah. Try to understand. Try to understand. He's a magic man with a disappearing trunk. Okay. I'm not sleep deprived at all. That's not why I'm being incredibly goofy. Yeah, Thomas Adams says, isn't charcuterie just Lunchables for adults? 100% is. It's great, though. Philip Chandler said, I could just start typing random statements and see where Josh comes in just to confuse him. You could be like, I can't believe you said that, just randomly. And I'll be like, what? What did I say? Like, I am so offended. It's like, what at? You have to have me tell you? Yeah, you could do some wild things in the chats. You can do anything in the world, especially if you super chat. Word on the street is there's magic to super chatting. Now, I can't promise anything, but I have heard good stories about people who super chat. I believe it gives them good luck. I heard something like every time you super chat, it saves a drowning kitten. So if you care about drowning kittens, you guys should super chat. You know what I should do to like generate super chats? Although I get a copyright strike, but it would be great if I played what was that song that singer from the Lilith Fair did that like they used to play on that like Sarah McLaughlin. Yeah, so I need to put that on. Like, I will remember you guys. Listen to this sad Sarah McLaughlin song and consider donating a super chat. There's Krembles. There's Krembles out there needing your super chat. I will remember you. What do you guys think? I think it could pick up steam. What do you think, Philip? You could use it on your stream too. We just have to get the rights to that Sarah McLaughlin song. Yeah, just have like crying puppy memes and be like, guys, it's donation time. I will remember. Yeah, my wife has a good point. She's saying in the background here that I mean, I'm sure it worked, right? Because you're seeing like crying puppies and this sad song. That does make, I mean, my wife and I are pretty much like the market for those old commercials, being the kind of people who like pull over to like try to coax a stray dog from like killing himself like for like hours. My wife's really obsessed with pets and animals as well. She'll literally like zone out on Facebook and just scroll through like a million different rescues dog video. Oh, it was In the Arms of an Angel. That was it. In the arms of... Ladies and gentlemen, there are Krembles out there that need your sweet donations, your sweet donos. In the arms of... And I'll just do that. And oddly enough, I might just get super chats that are just trying to say, stop singing, please. Yeah, maybe I'll just bring Bernie on the camera and yeah, make him give like real sad eyes, give him a treat afterwards, be like, good job, Bernie. Nicely done. It was funny, now that I look at it with the shading, it's not a sequential problem. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Philip said In the Arms of an Angel was played at my dad's memorial service. I'm sorry. I didn't know that. That's rough. Yeah, I won't make that joke anymore. So sorry. That's so sad. It's a beautiful song for a memorial, actually. Philip said he needs about 325 more subscribers and he could start getting super chats. Well, let's make that happen, guys. Let's get Philip 325 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed to Philip Chandler's channel, consider it. And, he's a good dude and a very good and talented artist. So, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. This is a beast of a page. Well, not really a beast of a page. This is actually a fairly easy page. As far as flats go, this one wasn't too bad. I feel like everything's easy after the page that had like a million characters on it. Everything feels like a breeze after that. Yeah, my wife was asking if I was talking about the opera scene. Yes, I was. Yeah, Philip was saying it's okay. It was a while ago, but when I hear that song, I think of him. Yeah, this is a tough one. I'll tell you a weird personal story. It's like a month after my dad died, I was in my first year at Cal State Long Beach. Like, I had worked really hard to transfer and finally gotten my stuff together and finally transferred to a Cal State, got out of the junior college, was really excited about it. It was like my first semester there. And then my dad like died of cancer. And I was like basically like doing, my first like hardcore university work on top of like traveling to like City of Hope and watching my dad slowly die. It was rough. But I kind of reference that a little bit with Jacob's apartment. But I was taking this class, like one of the electives you had to take, because there were like certain capstone classes. You had to take some upper division classes in like a few that were outside of your major. And and I took a class called Theater Appreciation, and it was such a rad class. Half of what you had to do for the class was you had to go to plays. Like, you had to actually go to live plays. And then you basically wrote essays about the plays that you saw, kind of reviewing them.
You had to appreciate them.
And it was amazing. I mean, it was an amazing class because it really opened my mind. We studied a lot of classic plays and stuff like that. But anyhow, it was like a week after I watched my dad die of cancer. The teacher, I'm trying to be stoic and go to school. And the teacher decided that we were going to watch one of the best plays written called Wit. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Wit, that is a play that was made into a movie starring Emma Thompson, where she slowly dies of cancer. And it is one of the most brutal things you can watch if you don't know somebody you've lost to cancer. But if it's like literally freshly a week after that, that was one of those times where I actually powered through it, powered through the play. It was a beautiful play. But I thought I was stronger than I was when I watched it, because I think I ended up having to take like a week off after that. I was like, yeah, I thought I was good, but I can't do that. So that's a brutal play, but just the timing of it was like awfully weird. And those are like anyhow, sorry, I'm not trying to drag you guys down. That was just a weird experience, Nice. Philip Chandler said, yes, with every new subscription, I'll send a free bag of Kremble's Crumble. I like it. Would that be bread? Because I'm down. Speaking of, so Philip and I are in a bread makers club that I just invented right now. And I want to go to the bread makers club tomorrow, because like I really like making bread in a bread maker. Philip was talking about it so often on stream and on social media that it reminded me that my sister-in-law, who lives with us, has a bread maker that's just been sitting there. Like we've had it since we moved into this house, because she didn't have anywhere to put it. So she was like, hey, can you keep this in the garage? And I remember looking at it like, almost a decade ago and being like, yeah, I remember as a kid, we borrowed a bread maker for like a week, and we had fresh bread all week at like when I was a kid. And it was like the coolest thing. And I always after that was like, man, I want a bread maker because fresh bread is so good. And then here I am like decades later getting a bread maker, and it's just sitting in our garage. I just forgot about it. And Philip's talk of bread just reawakened my interest in that. Nice. We got Mr. Lujan. Jim Lujan, low deers. And he said, Jim Lujan, I make bread to spend bread, yo. But yeah, I'm going to probably make a loaf tomorrow. And by that, I mean I'm going to put on, I would do anything for that, but I won't do that. Anything for love. So it took me years to finally figure that out. I think it might have been on stream where somebody finally explained that song. It took me a long time. This is how, like, you know how somebody can be fairly educated and still be an idiot? That's me. like, like I went to school for a really long time. I'm pretty good at art and art stuff, and there's a lot of stuff I know a lot about when it comes to comics and stuff like that. But like outside of that, I'm a freaking idiot. And one of the reasons I feel like I'm an idiot is I, for years, was just like, what is that? Like that Meatloaf song, you know? Where he's like, I would do anything for it, but I won't do that. I kept going, what is that? Like, it bugged me up until like, I think I started live streaming and I finally mentioned it saying like, man, it's just a mystery. Like, I think we were talking about Meatloaf, me and some friend or something on stream. And I just thought this must be a shared experience. Nobody knows what that is, you know? And the guy finally was just like, no, it's just like I wouldn't leave you. And I'm like, oh. And I was like, what? That's it? It's that obvious? And they're like, yeah, it's kind of in the lyrics. And I'm like, oh. I thought it was like this mystery that like everybody was like, what is that? You know? I thought it was like open to interpretation. And I felt very dumb when they kind of, I think they even read the lyrics to me and I was like, oh, it's like obvious. But like from when I was a kid to when I was a young adult to when I was a teenager, like, well, to when I was a teenager, see, I'm flashing because I aged and then I went backwards like Benjamin Button and then went forwards again. But yeah, anyhow, that whole time I was just like, I literally was convinced that this was like one of the mysteries of the universe was what did Meatloaf mean by that? You know? Is it like something saucy you didn't want to do in the bedroom? Is it like, like I never knew what it was, you know, but it's like, oh, nice. Jim was saying Meatloaf, the thing you wouldn't do was arson, right? Right? I think it's been long enough to make that joke. Him with like the pop culture deep cuts, man. The pop culture deep cut. Jim, you might as well call him the butcher because he's making the deep cuts. I don't know. I'm here all night, guys. Hey, if you guys haven't yet, one thing you could do is hit that like button. You could do that. One thing you could do is hit it right now. Like, if you're considering it and you're like, yeah, I'll remember to do that. No, you won't. Do it now. So you do remember. And yeah, if you haven't yet, hit subscribe and hit the bell so you get notifications. If you want to see more mad insomniac ramblings. So Philip, we'll both be making bread. We'll be making sweet bread all day long. Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to like bug my and just be like, girl, I'm gonna make some sweet bread. I'm gonna make some loaf of bread. I'm gonna put some yeast on that bread. It's like it just keeps sounding worse and worse till you realize I'm just literally no, like I just want to make bread in a bread machine, please. Philip said, I've been struggling with insomnia for ages. Yep. I feel like it's like a creative's curse. And Philip, you and I have talked about this. I think both you and I have worked graveyard shifts. And I feel like the second you do that, just kind of screws up your circadian rhythm. But in all fairness, I've been kind of like a vampire since I was a kid. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I was born in Transylvania, you guys. Used to listen to Skinny Puppy a lot, Dead Can Dance, Bauhaus on loop. Like the first words I said when I was born were Bela Lugosi's dead. That's right. Because I'm just so full of darkness in my soul. How are you guys doing? How is the darkness in your souls doing? Treating you okay? Okay. Oh, nice. Jim said on a side note, Josh, I thought of a great boy band name, Ultimate Teen Idols, known as UTI. At first I was like, the Teen Idols, wasn't that like a I feel like that was a DC punk band. But UTI, that's now I see what you're driving at and I like it. They could be on the tour poster with New Direction, you know? Never before have you seen these two in the same place, a New Direction and a UTI, together on the same stage. What we need, Mr. Jim Lujan, is like a showroom where we just riff jokes like this and call it the writer's room, and then have other writers write them up and get paid a ton of money to just goof around and come up with that stuff. I think that's a plan. I think if anyone's out there and they want to do that, I think Jim and I would both be very happy with that. Yeah. Jim was saying UTI open for New Direction. Exactly. The poster says first comes the New Direction, then the UTI. Oh, that's so good. Nice. Thomas said, I worked graveyard so long that the goths went damn. Nice. Aren't all goths damned? Aren't they all in their souls of darkness? It'd be interesting if somebody went around calling themselves goth. They don't look goth at all. And you find out they're actually Visigoth. I'm here all night, guys. Oh, let's see here. So we got 1.5 panels left, guys. We're slamming through these panels. No, yeah. Jim's like, undead, undead, undead. La 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 go. You know what? I think, Jim, you have a couple bands that you have that were like kind of riffing on the whole Bauhaus thing, didn't you? Because I feel like you have totally done the goth stuff. There has to be a Jim Lujan goth band. I know there is, Jim. You just have to tell me what the band name is. Because I can almost remember it actually. Let's see here. I heard a bell. I don't know what that is. There was a bell. Jim was saying they call themselves goth, but then you find out they're from Boston and their name is Garth. Like that would be great. Like if you could, introduce yourself. Well, I'm Gath. Oh wow, I'm really into goth too. Yeah, I'm goth. And it's just, yeah, a Bostonian. Speaking of gothic Garths, what was the name of that? Do you guys remember Garth Brooks had that thing where he was like a fake persona that was like a gothic dude? Oh my gosh, what was that called? He like wore a wig that was like a black wig and had this like sob story backstory and like was it Chris Haynes? Was that his name? Oh, Chris Gaines. That's it. Man, that is a wacky one. That's like the whole Chris Gaines thing feels like I don't know. I think sometimes with like celebrity, people will end up with so many yes men around them. They'll just lose their minds, and like there's probably a lot of people around them like that's the most brilliant thing I have ever heard, sir. You should definitely do that, sir. So if I ever get like super famous, um, try to tell me the truth and be like, nah, this isn't that good. Like, dude, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. Or exploit me and totally get me to do stupid things for ridiculous payouts. But it was kind of this weird thing where I think he literally thought like if he put on like a wig and like some eyeliner that people would just be like, who's this Chris Gaines guy? I think they had like a fake documentary and everything too. And it was like I think they aired it as if it was like a real documentary about this guy Chris Gaines, and like I think everybody who saw it was like, "That's weird. Why is Garth Brooks wearing a wig?" And he's like, "No, that's Chris Gaines." He just looks a bit like Garth Brooks because he had to have plastic surgery after his, terrible, sad car wreck story that we just invented. Garth felt like going a little sad. I don't know though. Like from what I remember, I don't know. Maybe like because my memory might serve me bad. Like it might have been kind of cool that the dude did that. You know, like I don't know. It's kind of like a weird kind of high art project for like a for like a guy who's already raking in millions of dollars just to be like, you know what, guys, I'm putting on a wig and eyeliner and I'm calling myself a different name, playing totally different music. Sounds kind of similar to my music, but a little less twangy. Oh, nice. Jim said, you are super famous. I got to go. I'll watch this in the morning. Thomas said, wasn't that during the whole Prince changing his name? I think it was around that time. I think they all got influenced by Old Dirty Bastard. I feel like ODB started changing his name and everybody was ripping him off. Do you guys remember that? There's a time where Old Dirty Bastard changed his name to Big Baby Jesus. And then he did interviews without smirking or cracking a smile or anything, where they'd be like, "Why did you do this name change?" And he's like, "Well, I've always been Big Baby Jesus." It's like only ODB would do that. Oh, that was a weird time. Everybody was changing names. All right. Speaking of changing names, we're gonna play a trailer. We have one panel left to go. And speaking of that one panel, you have one mouse or one Wacom pen, and that one mouse or Wacom pen should navigate to the like button and hit it while this trailer is playing. We will be back with more silliness on a chill art stream. Appreciate you guys. Let's watch, since Jim is heading out, let's end his day well by playing the OG Wordzoid trailer.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm gonna have to go with Karen Carpenter. Oh, Stu, I'm sorry. That's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm gonna go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won.
Trish, you've won a copy of 2 stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish. I was told I was gonna get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
All right, guys. We have one panel left to go, and then we will call it. So, yeah. You guys were... I was just thinking about that bread joke earlier. One of my favorite jokes along that line. Do you guys remember Beck had an album called Midnight Vultures, where he went like straight up just like funk and soul? Anyhow, he has this song, and it's so good, and it's like got this line in it that I think is great, where he says, he's like, it's that part of a song that like it's like a funk soul song. It's got this slow breakdown. He's singing this love song to this lady, and then he says, "Girl, I'm gonna take you out to Glendale and take you for a really good meal." And then he goes, "I said, lady, step inside my Honda." It's the best. Oh, that song's so good. I just love the fact that it's like, girl, like that's your pickup line. It's like, girl, get in my Honda. Like, it's so dumb. But like great, That's another that's the thing. I like punk a lot, and stuff like that, but I like Beck. my friends and I were really obsessed with Beck actually before midnight, not before Odelay. And then it was annoying because we were in high school and we were like really into Beck. And like everybody was like, Beck's amazing. And you're kind of like being hipster angry. Where you're like, I knew about him before he was cool. Not that we really did, because Loser was like a huge hit, but we liked like there was a little album, I can't even remember the name of it. It was like an EP where Beck does this like song where he just does like a cover. It sounds kind of like an Ozzy Osbourne song, and all he sings is Ozzy, 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 Ozzy. And then he stops and goes, Ozzy, you're the man, and starts talking about like mascara dripping down his eyes. Like, it's so good. Anyhow, I kind of liked that whole kind of like K Records vibe. And like Sea Change is a great album, I think it's like one of the better albums out there. And that was kind of neat too, because I've always been like a Neil Young fan, and it was kind of neat to hear him kind of go that like Neil Youngish route. Because that's a real like Neil Young sounding album. What would Scott Serkland do if Neil Young did like a team up album with like Dead Can Dance? And they called it The Young and the Dead. It's like, oh no! And they like copyright it and then sue Scott. It's like, you're trying to profit off Neil Young. Not like as if Neil Young is like super litigious. The only times I've heard of like Neil Young getting really litigious was there was this time where I think the RNC was using a Neil Young song. They do this a lot where they'll pick like a really liberal person and be like, we're going to use this as our campaign song without permission. And then the person will be like, I'm going to sue you if you use that again. It's like the weirdness of, the This Land Is Your Land thing. I've talked about that before on here, but it's always weird to me that people are like anti-union or like big on that, like, this land is your land song. And it's like, dude, have you guys read anything about Woody Guthrie? Oh yeah, that's true. My wife was pointing that out too. She was saying it's kind of funny that like a lot of people who are kind of homophobic will rock out to like "We Will Rock You" by Queen. And it's like, okay. Like it's like tough as nails. And it is a tough song. Interesting. But yeah, like yeah. Songs are funny. My favorite one of all of the things was like this blow up on Twitter a couple years back where it's like there was like this YouTube clip of like some like QAnon members at like a rally like on the 5th. I think it was like a day before January 6th. And they're like dancing around to like Rage Against the Machine. Like, and Tom Morello like tweeted at it. It was like, dude, this is like, he was like, and they had a Blue Lives Matter flag. That's the funny part. They had a Blue Lives Matter flag that they were like towing around and like waving to the song. And he's like, dude, you realize like, because I think like a lot of the people were like protesting Black Lives Matter, and it's like to that song, not protesting for like being like counter protesters, like trying to like back the blue or whatever. And it's like, anyhow, so Tom Morello like kind of tweeted and was like, I can't believe you guys haven't listened to the lyrics of the song, It's just not like it's kind of ironic because like the song is literally talking crap about the very people playing it and waving their banners to it in that video. And then a bunch of people freaked out and were like, oh my gosh, you guys, I used to like Rage Against the Machine and then they got all socialists. And that was one of the funniest things too, because it's like, you guys realize like Zach De La Rocha's been like openly a socialist for a long time, like further socialist than a lot of people on the left, like straight up pro socialism, very blatantly, to the point where they use like a communist star in their logo. And they said, yeah, this is a star for communism. Like, and you don't even have to agree with it to just know like that's what they've been forever. And like all these people like flipped out, like, oh my gosh, how dare you get political? And it's like, but they've been like, you must not have understood. Like, because the weird thing is, they sing the lyrics, they know every word. Like, did they not? Is it possible to like memorize lyrics and have no idea what their meaning is? But anyhow, that was funny. And it was funny to see Tom Morello, his response to all these people being like, well, I used to like Rage Against the Machine, and now I'm never buying your CD. Go woke, go broke. And he's like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, why would you think that would bother Tom Morello, like one of the leftist of left people? Or like Zach De La Rocha, like, are you kidding me? Anyhow, that was funny. Anyhow, and I think that should be funny, like regardless, like even if you're on like the side of those people, like it should still be kind of funny that like you're literally talking to a band that is openly calling themselves communists and going, oh, that's socialism. What are you talking about? It's like, yeah, they've been doing that for 20 years, man, 30 years. What are you talking about? What do you think the machine was that they were enraged about? Like, Anyhow, just a thought. Okay, so what do we got here, guys? We got one panel left to go. We've managed to stay relatively unspicy. I guess that was a little spicy. Can't avoid a tiny bit of spice. You need a little bit of seasoning with your food, Just a little bit. So what's everybody up to, man? What are you guys working on? I notice there's a couple people watching now. Be cool to hear what everybody's projects are. We're probably going to be going for another maybe 20 minutes till this is done. We've talked about cheese bros that wear cheese hats. Thomas was saying, nah, that was just the silliness of humans. I'm not sure what that's in regards to. The Tom Morello thing? I don't know. It is pretty silly, man. That was one of the funniest videos I've ever seen. We might watch it on stream one of these days. It was sort of like, it was almost like an art piece, Like you had to kind of almost be in awe of it. Yeah. Thomas was saying the Rage Against the Machine story. Yeah. But anyhow, that was one of the funniest things, you know? And I think at this rally, like the weird thing is, I think at this rally, there were actual neo Nazis too. And that song is like about the problem that there are like actual white supremacists on the police force, you know? So it was weird because I think even in the video there were like white supremacists in it. So it's weird that they're like singing along to some of those in workforces are the same that burn crosses. It's like, what do you think? What do you think this song's about, you dumbass? Sorry. Okay. Ba 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 ba. We have Philip said, "Ooh, I missed Jim's exit and I'm a few minutes behind again." Oh, I'm sorry. He said, "I'm still here. I'm reworking my drawing for my roommate. He was having problems with." Hey, if it's a free drawing, you should tell him, "Too bad. It's your problem now." I'm just kidding. If he's a good roommate, it's worth it. Thomas said, "Music transcends barriers." But it'd be kind of like, I don't know, if you were like listening to Bob Marley and you're like, I kind of think this guy doesn't like the government. It's like, I don't know, you know? Or again, like the people who listen to like Woody Guthrie's like "This Land Is Your Land" and they think it's like a right-wing song about farmers, not about property rights, which is what it's about. And the fact that the land should be free. People even think about this stuff? I don't know. All right, guys, we're getting there. We're deselecting Elizabeth's dress. Philip was saying, "Nah, it's fine. LOL." Nice. I'm not sure what that's in regards to, but there's always that problem with chat where sometimes I'll think somebody's like referring to something, but it'll like sometimes by the time I read it, it's like something I said a while ago. Sorry if I miss it. I am really trying to pay attention to you dudes because you guys are my peeps. You're my cheese bros. You know what I mean? Know what I mean, Vern? Oh, Philip was saying, "No, redrawing my roommate's picture." Yeah. Okay, now I get it. I think what you need to do is draw a big, evil, twirly mustache, which your roommate is twirling with their pinky, with one eyebrow raised, with nefarious lighting below, facing upward. So it's actually nice to have like a just kind of a chill hangout stream. So I'm kind of appreciating you guys supporting that. That's very nice. We have one guy left. We just have to do Bosco, the magician. And once Bosco's done, the rest of this is a piece of pie to get done. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be weird if like, could you imagine if like somebody in the time of like Bob Dylan was like, man, I really like Blowing in the Wind, but I got to stop supporting this guy because he really doesn't like the Vietnam War. It's like, but like 20 years later, wait, he was anti Vietnam? Well, thanks a lot, Mr. Dylan. No more money from me. Go woke, go broke. And thinking that Dylan would be like, oh my gosh, my life is ruined. How could you? Okay. There's a joke somewhere there. You know what? Okay, here's another joke in honor of Corey Kerr, who I tease about Striper, the band. It'd be like somebody now, this far into like the 80s, all of this stuff is known. Somebody on Twitter like creating this like Twitter feud, or I guess on X now, creating this giant feud with like members of Striper and being like, you guys are Christians? What the heck, man? It's like, yeah. I mean, it's kind of the same equivalent, where you're like, wow, I'm going to not buy Striper records anymore. Like, who doesn't know that about that band? I think we should just make an attempt to do that. Let's find like the weirdest bands where it's so obvious what their message is, and then like tweet like fake shock at the fact that they have the message that they have. Like, oh my gosh, I used to like you guys, but then you turned into, send out tweets to like ex members of Devo and be like, you guys were really cool till you started wearing weird hats. Tweet at like the B-52s, like, everything was cool, man, until you were rocking lobsters. Then it all fell apart. Okay, guys. Oh. Oh, nice. Yeah, Philip Chandler said it's going to print, and he's giving me credit for it. Yeah, I know. I just think a twirling mustache would help. No, it's cool. It's actually a nice thing. Gifting art is a nice thing to do when it's your choice, You guys, we finished this crazy page. It's a crazy page, and we finished it. So thank you for keeping me company while I worked on this. Yeah. Thomas Adams was like, Weird Al really went downhill when he started doing parodies. Yeah, you used to be serious, man, but then you got weird. Hashtag go weird, go broke. All right, guys. Have a good night. If you haven't yet, hit the like button. Hit the bell so you get notifications when I'm about to go live. Tomorrow I should be working on some worthy woodcut-esque illustrations for some t-shirt designs. I should be working on one of those. And I might be working on a spread for that children's book that I was working on the cover for a couple streams back. Thank you guys for keeping me company. It helped me get this done. And I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate my community and my community and my community. And I'm a little tired, so I said community like 4 times. So Kremlin, keep on Kremlin, and I will see you guys on the next stream. Goodbye, and thank you. You guys are appreciated. Bye.